Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we will be reading from True Off My Chest. Our first post is by Get a Life. Told my wife, F35, that she couldn't do it without me, M34. Turns out she can. I made one stupid selfish comment to my wife a week or so ago, and now my life is in disarray. My wife is in some crisis. Her work is closed and she's being paid, but she's home with our kids now, including one 3-year-old. She gets breaks on Monday and Friday with childcare. We went into having kids knowing she wanted to be a working mother. So this has been an adjustment, to say the least. On to the OG fight. She spent a long day with our kids and the neighboring kids, and when I came upstairs from work and she asked for a break, I didn't respond well. I made excuses and didn't offer help, and for the first time in years my wife lost her temper and cursed at me. Like an idiot, I dug in and thought I was right. I admit we both said some unkind things. But after Reddit humbled me, and she made me sit down and write a list of things I did for the family that day, and compared it with her longer list, I apologized. She accepted, and I figured things would go back to normal. They haven't. My wife used to include me in parenting our kids. I did dance pickup most weeks, and bedtime was split. I gave baths, made dinner, all the stuff. Since our fight, my wife hasn't asked me for any help with the kids. The first morning I woke up on what was supposed to be my morning with the kids, I figured she was just being nice or trying to prove a point, but it keeps happening. She didn't even send them down to say goodnight last night. Normally my wife does this silly game where she sends my son to ask me to read 5 books, and then we would negotiate down to 1 or 2 and race upstairs. Last night I heard her racing him and came up to find her doing bedtime yet again. The kids haven't even noticed. It's like she's replacing me. When we were fighting, I said something really dumb that's living inside me and festering. My wife was being nasty and said, "You wouldn't see the kids a quarter as much as you do if I didn't arrange it, and I'm done managing you." I defended myself. I'm not an absent parent, and said something along the lines of, "I'd like to see how long you can manage without me. Consider my foot officially in my mouth." She's started running again. She's cooking really healthy and often. Every night I come home to my perfectly happy Stepford wife doing it all without me, and I feel empty inside. How do I fix this? I don't even know where to begin. At this point I want to beg her to go back to how things were. This wasn't what we agreed on. Edit, guys, I get it. I'm a piece of crap. I'm going to make this right. Edit 2. Thank you to the handful of people that reached out with advice. Believe it or not, I do want to be a good father and husband. I've royally screwed up and I see that and fully admit it. This is going to be my only edit, and then I'm going to get off my phone for a while and focus my attention on my family. My wife had dinner cooked when I got home. Everything is fine between us, so there wasn't any tension. After we cleaned up, I went upstairs and ran my wife a bath, put Taylor Swift on her Alexa and lit a few candles. I told her to go relax upstairs for the night. She was surprised but smiled and went on her way. I'm currently on the toilet watching my kids take a bath. People mentioned love bombing, etc., but I'm just trying anything I can to show her I do appreciate and love her and our family, and I want to be a present father. I'm going to do bedtime tonight and probably all next week. I'll tell her she does so much during the day and deserves the break because it's the truth. I get that I come off as an asshole. I grew up in a not great situation and didn't have the best role models growing up. I'm terrified of my children not having enough, and I overcompensate by working too much. This new job came with a big pay increase, but the hours are longer and I feel like I can never keep up. I've reached out to a few recruiters tonight. I used to love my job and was always home by 4:30. Even if it means taking the lost income, I'm thinking about going back. Relationships are hard, and humans aren't perfect. For all the people telling me my kids don't love me and I'm a waste of space, I don't know, guys. Just remember I'm an actual person. That stuff's rough. Anyways, that's all I have for you folks. I need to watch these kiddos and start planning out my long road of groveling and reconnecting. Thanks all. Our next post is by Throwaway. I, F21, don't like my transgender friend, female to male 21 anymore post-transition, and I want to cut him off. I've known James for my entire life. Our families are friends. We were classmates in high school and spent almost every day together. At the time, James identified as a woman. I'm very feminine. I like makeup, skincare, fashion, hanging out with my girls, and back then, so was James. We had that in common, and it was a big part of why we got along so well. When we moved for uni, James came out as trans and started hormones ASAP. I was very surprised but supported him fully. I did feel like I lost a friend in a way, but kept my feelings to myself. The problem really started after his transition became noticeable. First of all, James became very hostile towards the feminine things he used to enjoy. He says things like, makeup is for insecure girls, skincare is such a scam, only dumb people fall for that. Olivia Rodrigo, are you 12? And that really bothers me. We've had several fights about this. It always ends with him using being trans as an excuse to crap on femininity. I understand he has a complicated relationship with it, but I can't stand how rude and demeaning he is to me, even if unintentionally. Secondly, James and I have always slept in the same bed and cuddled, ever since we were small children. None of the boyfriends we've had ever had a problem with that, and we've never been romantic with each other. Still, after James transitioned, I am no longer comfortable with it. I don't want to cuddle a male friend, it makes me feel weird. I can't control my feelings over this. I just feel gross. I don't want to feel like this, but I do. James has a huge problem with this. When he wanted to sleep over a few weeks ago, I set up the guest bedroom. He was extremely offended and went home. We didn't talk for 2 weeks, then he texted me again as if nothing happened. Those 2 weeks were the most peaceful in the past 2 years. We argue every time we see each other. If I don't make the time to see him, he accuses me of not liking him anymore and abandoning him. The truth is, I don't like him anymore. I do not like this person. It's not about the fact he's trans, it's about the fact that we have nothing in common anymore, and he's constantly rude to me. I have tried talking about this with him several times. He is completely unwilling to consider my point of view and thinks he's fully justified in being offensive to femininity, and that I should get used to it. I don't want to try anymore. I still love him and don't want to hurt him. How can I cut him off in the least painful way? Our next post is by Throwaway. My husband, M39, has thrown me, F27, under the bus to his family with his silence and complete lack of a spine. How do I salvage this? My husband Owen and I have been trying for a baby for years with no luck. I would be happy to adopt, but Owen's family is against it and has influenced my husband to also be against it. After our second year of trying, I begged my husband to go with me to get a checkup to see if either of us or both of us is infertile. He was strongly opposed to this, as all the men in his family are extremely fertile, but eventually gave in. And as it turns out, his sperm count is extremely low. He was heartbroken, as was I, and we both got therapy. After a year of no longer trying, I got pregnant but lost the baby, and we were devastated. Owen blamed himself and proposed that we start the process of getting into a family planning center for a sperm donor, which I agreed to. He asked me that we not tell either of our families about this, or our friends, and I agreed because I would never want to emasculate him. With the help of our donor, I was able to successfully become pregnant, and we had our little girl last year. She is healthy and progressing amazingly, and I thank God for her every day. I kept my promise and never told anyone. However, Owen is struggling with connecting with our little girl. Here's where the trouble begins. Last month, when he went out of town with his brothers for their friend's bachelor party, while on the trip, Owen told his brothers about our infertility issues, and that our baby wasn't biologically his. One of his brothers must have told his wife, who told my husband's mother. I don't know why she would tell my husband's mother, except that she has never liked me. Their mother then came to our house and called me a lying whore and tried to get my husband to leave with her. He just stood there silent. I told her that it was Owen's decision not to tell anyone, and she asked him if this was true again. He was silent, which his mother took as me being the liar. She then went to our nursery and started taking everything she'd ever given us for the baby back. I told her I didn't care about it, and I made more than enough to buy everything she gave us myself and better quality. This set her off, and she called my baby a filthy bastard when she said that I did something I know was harsh, but I believe she deserved it. I physically pushed her out the door. I didn't hit her, but I did put my hands on her shoulders, pushing her out the door, and threw all her crappy things out with her. After spirits had calmed down, I realized my husband had said nothing when his mother was berating me, calling me a liar, and when she called our child a filthy bastard. So I asked him why he was silent. He said he wasn't raised to be disrespectful the way I was, and that his mother hadn't said anything that wasn't true. She was just hurtful with what she'd said, and that we should let it go and wait for his mother to forgive us. I told him that I would never let it go, that his mother and anyone who agreed with her was not welcomed in our home, and that I don't need to be forgiven when I've done nothing wrong. He then said the house was his, and as the head of the family it was his decision. I told fine, but why did he allow her to call me a liar and a whore? Those things are not true, and our child, no child really, should be called a bastard. He just repeated he would not argue with his mother. After that, I stopped speaking to him and started gathering up my daughter's things and purse and walked out the door with her. He tried to stop me and told me I couldn't take his daughter anywhere without him, and I lost the little bit of composure I had left. I told him she wasn't his daughter. He'd proved he didn't see her as his daughter when he'd allowed his mother to call her a filthy bastard and told him she wasn't his. He broke down into tears and begged me to come back inside, but at the time I felt nothing. He looked pathetic to me. I've taken my baby with me and gone back home to my parents and finally told my family the truth, which feels so good. They are completely in support of my decision and are not allowing my spineless husband anywhere near us, as he still refuses to apologize to me or set the record straight with his family. However, I told the sister-in-law that I was close to the truth, and she told the rest of his family. Half of his family is understanding while the other side is on his mother's side, but they all are mad at my husband. I need time to cool down, but I know eventually my husband and I need to figure our marriage out. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.